Dentists all work in air conditioning. All we have to do is walk in for 2 minutes and check someone's teeth and say, be on your way. That is what many people think of dentists like Dr. Paul Goodman, that's me, and Dr. Kyle Stanley, and they are wrong. Dentistry can be incredibly rewarding and incredibly stressful at the exact same time. And we do not talk enough about the burnout factor. And I'm here with Dr. Kyle Stanley. We're doing a special webinar coming up on Nachos TV with Dr. Kyle. And I want to share with you the awesome things he has created to help dentists with burnout. Now, Kyle, many people know you from your amazing Instagram account, your high-level cosmetic dentistry, your speaking, but just orient our audience as to who you are, your dental journey, and what you're doing now to help dentists be less stressed.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's an honor to be here. I love the group. I love seeing all the discussions that happen here. So I'm like the Men's Warehouse guy, right? I'm the president, but also a member or something. Yeah. I am a part-time practicing dentist in Southern California. I'm a researcher. I own my own practice with Matt Najad. I also travel around and speak a lot too. I have an AI company called Pearl. But the last 5 years have been a little bit different for me in the sense that I went through a really dark time in dentistry where I wanted to quit. I was ready to just like throw in my handpiece and say, I can't do this crap anymore. It got to the point where my stress level was so high that it didn't matter how much money I was making. It didn't matter, any accolades that I got. I was ready to quit. And so I went through this really difficult journey, but I was able to come out of it. And because I was speaking, I started talking to people about it when I was speaking about other topics. So like I'd be speaking about implants for 6 hours, and then I talk about mental health for 10 minutes. And afterwards, people will come up to me and hug me and say, thank you so much. I'm feeling the same thing, or my husband or my wife or my kids. And I started realizing that this is like a really important topic that our profession needs, and no one was talking about it. And so I started, trying to be this leading advocate for mental health in dentistry. And it's really been one of the most rewarding things
it amazing,
that I've been able to do.
I echo this sentiment, and, we're going to talk about things that are scary, sad, tragic over the next 15 minutes, because I was speaking at the Academy of Sports Dentistry as the keynote speaker, and I do end with a just tragic story of my own friend who died by suicide in the beginning of this year as a dentist, who on its face, I'm not a mental health professional, looked like he had a great practice, looked like he had a great family. Yeah. And a guy ran up to me and he stopped me as I was leaving. And he said, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was dealing with that with someone I know, and dentists need to talk more about it. So it's truly amazing. It gives me chills to think about it, that I deliver 96% about what they asked for. And then this we're talking about. So what I want to ask you about is a little bit about your journey. And, we talk about burnout, depression, stress, overwhelm, exhaustion, because these are the feelings. I have this guy here, Kyle, Mr. Grumbly. This is where dentists a lot of times have to keep their crying on the inside parts of their body. So take us back for a second. Why doesn't money solve morale problems, right? You're making money, Kyle. People are asking you to speak. You have an awesome family. Why that makes you feel even worse, right? Why are you upset? So take us back to that kind of when you were going through that dark time. How come the money wasn't solving it, or how come the accolades weren't solving it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think that some of it has to do with this idea of the golden handcuffs, which many people may have heard of, right? And actually making a good amount of money can sometimes make it worse. And why is that the case? Because you won't give it up, right? You're like, I've spent too much time, too much effort. I'm making 200,000, 400,000, 600,000. There's dentists that make a lot of money out there. We're in the top 5% of earners in the country. And so you're thinking like, well, I just have to do this the rest of my life. And there's a way of doing it, but not being stressed out. And I think part of it comes from just the fact that we focus so much on getting better clinically. Yeah. It's just, how do I place more implants? How do I learn molar root canals? How do I, do aligners? And so much of the stress that comes with dentistry has nothing to do with the clinical aspect. It's, you talk about this a lot, but it's things like, how do I refer to somebody and not look like an idiot? How do I talk to a patient and get treatment acceptance? What happens if I do have a complication? Do I do it for free? Do I do it for discounted? Is the patient expecting it? So much of it is really like this interpersonal aspect. But there's very specific things about dentistry that nobody talks about, right? Like we work in an environment of fear every day. Our
Yeah.
patients are afraid to be with us, and no one talks about how that affects us.
I also just share, I'll just share, often this comes off as humorous, but it's real. It's like, I want to come back in another life. I don't really believe in reincarnation, selling cupcakes, because I want to sell something where people have no resistance to it. They don't say, does my cupcake insurance cover it?
Right.
Are you trying to scam me with this cupcake deal? But I share with my team, when you are 6 inches from someone who doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to pay for it, it takes a toll on you. And just on my most recent interview just a few minutes ago, patients will say, I just want to let you know, I hate the dentist. And I say, I just want to let you know, you could have kept that in your head. But it's something that weighs on us. And I want to bring something. I had Mark Costas here last week. I made him these shirts because all he cares about is biceps and EBITDA. And what I wanted to say is, our dental core is lopsided, right? It's your clinical skills, your verbal skills, your mind skills, and your heart skills. But dental school's like, hey, just keep getting better at crown preps, like just doing bicep curls. So you've created something to help dentists, to give them the opportunity to be seen, feel heard, think this is normal. Tell us a little bit about this journey and how you have created resources for it.
Yeah, so starting out, you and I are going to be giving a webinar in a few weeks. It's a free webinar. It's about an hour long that gives people a lot of tips. It's going to give you places where you can go to learn more about scripting and communication, and also talk about the 3 biggest mistakes that most dentists make. I've also created an academy called Lightside Academy, which is an online community, online course with CE credits. And then we also have a monthly, I don't like to call it a support group because there's negative, there's negative connotations with that, but really it is. It's a mastermind support group of dentists. It's places where we can talk about like, gosh, my associate is like, I just realized, I saw the prep, or I saw someone on Dental Nachos, like the contacts are bad in my associate. What do I do? But no one talks openly about that stuff, or like,
hey, sharing group. I got a 5-year-old. We work on sharing. So I like, sharing of your stresses group. I love that you have scaled help. One thing I wanted to point out is I graduated. When did you graduate from dental school? I was
2010.
So, one of the things about these communities, Instagram, social media, Dental Nachos, there's so much amazing free content that you and I would have had to pay for because the internet didn't exist. And we are actually, when people come to this webinar on September 27th and just block an hour of their life out, whether they move forward with paying for something or not, they will leave better than when they started.
Exactly right.
And actually, some of the people who talk about this, I was talking with Dr. Natanya recently, who sold her endo practice. She goes, if Dental Nachos existed, maybe I would have not sold my practice, but I felt so alone. Yeah. And this is why we do this, right? This ability to consume things, whether it's through podcast, webinar for free, is just so magical. And as old enough dentists, we didn't have any of that, which I just think led to the feeling, because you literally had to pay to go to a CE course. You had to pay
to be around other dentists. Right?
Yes. And so tell me a little bit about some of these. There's a lot of buzzwords, right, out there in life, right, from crypto to passive income. Now let's take it to our world. Tell me a little bit about burnout, right? Burnout is like, to me, it's a little bit like periodontal disease or gingivitis. I feel like people could have mild version, moderate version, advanced version. Tell us a little bit about burnout for the dental community.
Yeah, the interesting thing about burnout, one of the definitions that I've seen is constant exposure to humans that are troubled or having difficulties, okay, and feeling delusionment and sadness, right? And when I saw that definition, I was like, wait, that's like the definition of dentistry, right? That's what we do every day, is deal extensively with humans that are troubled or having problems. And I think we're always supposed to be the person that's like, hey, Mrs. Jones, how you doing? Good to see you, And they're like, I hate being here. Last time you did this too. And you're just supposed to put on a happy face, right? And we're human, we have good days, we have bad days, we have days when we absolutely love dentistry, we have days where we want to throw the handpiece across the room, and we're just expected to always be okay, always be at the same level. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow, it's no wonder why so many of us are suffering from burnout, because like you said, we're working 6 inches from a patient that is uncomfortable, they may be in pain, it's expensive, the things that we do, they would rather be somewhere else.
I mean, we just know that feeling is that, when someone doesn't want to be with you for whatever reason. And
Totally.
we've signed up to do that professionally. And one of the things I want to add loudly is the other day I commented on my own group about how it's frustrating that people attack each other and I have to mute people. And someone gave me grief and said, you know what, Paul, why do you share your complaints? You signed up for this. And I don't tell my patients that I just have to put on a happy face. And I say, you know what, maybe we should share more. I share complaints about insurance with my patients. If we have relationships with our patients and teams, like I do with my Facebook community, it's not supposed to all be unicorns and rainbows. And I love what you had shared there. And I think even if someone was watching this, they know that feeling of how to have to put on that constant fake happy face for their patients. And it sounds like that is a recipe for some level of burnout, from what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, for sure. There's this quote that I saw somewhere that I think it was related to something else, but I kind of changed it, and that dentists shouldn't be servants to their patients, right? They should serve their patients. They should be of service to their patients. And I think so many times we're just expected to be servants.
Yeah.
This came off, you got to do it again. Well, would that happen in a hospital, right? If I needed to redo my ACL afterwards, would you do it for free? No, you wouldn't, right? But a lot of us don't have the wherewithal or the scripts to talk to the patient before and tell them, hey, I'm going to place this implant.
My quote is, the words you say influence the success of your day. And I listen to Patrick Winston, How to Speak is an amazing piece of speaking content. Please put it in the chat. He passed away a few years ago. But if you're someone who talks to people, not a professional speaker, you should watch it. And that's the reframing of energy. So no dentist was ever taught to even manage the expectations. And I've said to people, how many cars have you had in 15 years? You use that every day, but it feels like more, what's interesting, it's just when people say that to you, it feels like more than just attack on their crown. It feels like an attack on you as a person.
And that's one of the things that I think is so important in dentistry. And we'll talk about this a little bit on the webinar, is separating us from dentistry. Like, you are a person, irregardless of the fact that your profession is dentistry, right? Your profession is dentistry, you are not dentistry. And that was one of the things that I suffered from, was I aligned my purpose in life with my profession, so that when my profession went down, I had an implant fail, had a crown fall off, patient was mad, I thought I wasn't worth anything. Yeah. And that's an important topic that we'll go.
I talk about it. I'm so aligned with you on this, and so proud to be, helping you and affiliate sponsor all of these things. This webinar coming up on September 27th. My team will share how you can watch that totally for free. You can text the word Kyle to 215-543-6454. But one of the things I've shared with people is, you're going to be a person after this thing's over, and it could be your dental career, could be being a parent, right? We've seen through our friends' parents, and sometimes it can be moms who does that. Their kid goes to college and now they don't know what to do. Right? And the thing about dentistry, Kyle, and I just interviewed Dr. Charles Moser yesterday, who had his hand crushed 5 years into his career. Dentistry can be taken away from you against your will, right? So it's not just about, when can I figure out how to retire, or when can I figure out how to get out of the operatory? And I think that aligning your purpose with your profession totally is something that I'm just curious. I know it's not. Why do you think that is? Is it our dental school training? Is it the isolation we feel? Why do you think dentists tend to do that?
Yeah, I think it's multifactorial. I think it has to do with the fact that it takes us so long to get to where we are, right? You have to do, in the US, you have to do well in high school to get into college. You have to do well in college, take the BAT to get into dental school. You have to do well in dental school to pass your boards, whether you do specialty, whatever. So you're looking at a long time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money. And so for a long time, like college, dental school, residency, first few years, your whole life is just dentistry, right? Nothing else matters. And when you're aligning, you just get sucked in. And the other thing is too, we love dentistry, right? We are just so passionate about it. We love it. We measure in microns, but it consumes us many times. Right. It becomes who we are, which can be a negative aspect.
And I can make this in a more of a funnish way to think about this. I say in my lectures, hey, everybody, raise your hand if you want the best haircut possible. I got a haircut today. And everyone goes, I want
looking
one.
Good.
Then I go, raise your hand if it's okay if it takes 7 hours. Everyone puts their hand down. I go, okay, that's where we are with our patients, because I believe our patients would really sympathize with us if they knew the internal pressure we put on their 18 occlusal. I would liken it to when you go to a restaurant and they go, your food's not ready yet. And I go, just give it to me in the version that's ready now, right?
Yeah.
But we have this obsession with perfection, which has just led to disillusionment, depression,
Exactly.
suicide. So in this training with you, I like to get people to move forward. We want them to come to this webinar, hear from us, here are the 3 biggest mistakes they make. And then you also have a real resource that they can use on their own time, plus a community that you've created to support them. People who have gone through this, tell me about their experience with the community after going through it. Do they still lean on them? Do they ask you questions? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. And I'm sure you've seen this too, but there's even communities within communities.
Yeah.
So for example, we've had, with one of our cohorts that we had a few ladies that one was in Canada, one was in, maybe 2 were in Canada, and one was in California. They weren't close to each other. But one of the things we talk about is sitting down and having a meal with people. And there's a lot of research on this, that this kind of brings you back and can build really great relationships, which can then help your mental health, et cetera. And they were all single at the time and didn't have anybody to sit down with. And they said, hey, you guys want to do like a Zoom dinner on Thursday nights? So they started doing this and they've become great friends. They didn't know each other before the course, but we have people that, come in, are amazing dentists, speakers and researchers and everything, but maybe have, like, for example, one of my friends that I'll show on the webinar, his name's Narain from New Jersey. His front office has bright red hair. And anytime she would come into his peripheral vision, his heart would start beating. Not because anything around her, he loved her, but every time she came over, it was, a patient's late, patient doesn't want to pay, this patient called, a crown fell off, whatever. And he actually developed anxiety from this, had to go to the doctor because he said, I don't know what it is. I exercise, I ride my bike, and I have a resting heart rate of 140 beats per minute. And he was diagnosed with anxiety, ended up going through our courses, joining our communities, and he's completely changed. He takes a day off a week. He's making more money, which is crazy. You take a day off and you actually make more money. He has really made his daily habits important. His family is number 1. And it's just so cool for me to be able to see these transformations in these doctors from around the world.
I absolutely love that story. And I can commiserate. One of my humorous things in my lecture is not once in my career has the front desk walked into my operatory when I was seeing a patient and delivered good news, right?
That's how great something is.
They don't want to pay this, and that weighs on people. And I think that, I have this thing where I say, did you ever insert an implant crown? You spend all this time and you give the patient the mirror. Like this morning, the barber gave me the mirror to look at the back part of my hair. And not once have I made a suggestion, never once, but I always, I go, oh, it looks great, right? But I've given patients mirrors, go, do you want to see that work that we did? They just rip off their bib. I want to get out of here. So I say, what you should do is hold one hand up and then just give yourself a selfie high five. And I get a lot of laughs because laughter and sadness, I think, are closely aligned sometimes.
Yes.
And I just think that what people might be hearing now is it's just very difficult to manage all the decisions you make as a dentist. We finally have dentists talking about it's not all unicorns and rainbows. And then we really have people like you delivering real value to start the process to getting healthier. So, as we wrap up, Kyle, we're going to be doing this webinar on September 27th. It's totally free to watch in. People can text Kyle to 215-543-6454 to get the link. My team will drop it in all the comments too. But I love kind of ending on these transformational stories like a Noreen, like these people that get together for dinner. So is that what inspires you to keep doing this and keep talking about? Because I saw you at Bulletproof, amazing presentation, how you navigated sharing tragic stories with also inspiration. It's not easy, right, to do that. Is that what motivates you to kind of keep this message going?
Yeah, for sure. I come from a family of dentists. My dad's a dentist, my brother's a dentist. I'm so on the dentist side in everything. And because I've been there, I've been at the bottom, the very, very bottom, and been able to crawl my way out of it. I started having people asking me, how did you do that? And it's so powerful to me. I've done a lot of cool stuff in my career, from research and AI and this stuff. This is by far the most rewarding thing that I've ever done, is to be able to help my colleagues. So it's my honor to be able to bring this topic to the forefront.
I absolutely love that. Dentists helping dentists is the core mission, core chip of our Dental Nachos world. So thrilled to be collaborating here. Can't wait for our webinar coming up on September 27th. Everyone here on Facebook Live, thanks for watching in with us.
Thanks, Paul.